Leadership Training Service Presence.
International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, 9 August. The International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples is observed on 9th August every year since 1982, the first meeting of the UN Working Group on Indigenous Populations. It is a day set apart where people of goodwill from all over the world spread the message of United Nations on the protection and promotion of the rights of indigenous peoples. Who are the indigenous people? Have you ever come across to them? Indigenous peoples are those who have inherited ancient cultures. They still faithfully follow the customs and ethos that are handed over to them for generations. In India we call them as Adivasis, tribals, etc. They are spread across the country almost in all the states. Each tribe has its distinct customs and cultures. In India, the Santals constitute the biggest tribe. Their distribution cuts across a number of states, especially in North India. The indigenous peoples are accustomed to live in natural habitats and are very close to nature and environment. Their world and life in general are intertwined with forest, land, sacred groves, animals, plants, water, sun, moon, seasons, ancestors, and the world of the spirits. They have struggled all along for centuries to preserve their own cultural, social, political and economic uniqueness. Those are very different from those of the mainline influential societies around them. What are the threats they face? Though culturally different, most of the indigenous peoples in the world share common challenges. The most important challenge they encounter is the ever-increasing threat to their very existence and the protection of their rights as peoples with distinct cultures and identity. Indigenous peoples have been struggling for a few centuries to preserve their identities, customs, religions and their way of life. They are also trying their best to hold on to their right to the traditional forest lands, sacred groves, territories and natural resources that belonged to them for centuries with no claim from any outsiders. Throughout history the indigenous peoples have been relegated to the periphery of the mainline societies. Their rights have always been violated and many of them are wiped away from the face of the earth using the might of the modern civilization. A number of them were victims of slave trade and died in inhuman situations. A considerable groups of tribes also disappeared through inter-tribal warfare. We still bear the scars of the wounds of the infamous killing fields. It is sad that even today the indigenous peoples are among the most deprived and defenseless groups of people in the world. The international community, comprised of people of goodwill, is seriously concerned about the urgency of protecting the rights and maintaining the distinct cultures and way of life of the indigenous peoples. We need to realize and take off our hats in respect to the tribal students. A good number of them are first-time learners in the history of their lineage. They are the first ones who are trying to learn the alphabets and venturing into the formal education system in thousands of years of human history. Let us provide them with opportunities and we will witness that in due time they will make a big difference in the history of the upcoming generations. It has happened in a number of tribal belts in India, especially in Ranchi, Bhopal, etc. There are a number of IAS, IPS officers and PhD holders. There are people who hold esteemed positions in governments, parliament, judiciary, top executives in companies, well-acclaimed educators and the like. Thanks to the modern education they received, including some of the first-time learners, they have carved out their due space in society to raise awareness of the rights and due space of indigenous peoples. Every year 9th August is observed as the International Day of World's Indigenous Peoples. 5-point Action Plan. 1. Read and acquire a fair idea about the tribals in India and in the world. Learn more about their situation in your locality, state and in India. 2. Consciously make an effort to know how many tribal students are there in your class, school, locality and make friends with some of your age mates or younger one. Give a thought to the possibility of supporting them with education so that they can march ahead along with the rest of humanity. 3. Be respectful to the tribal workers who are at your place or in the locality. Be aware that they are exploited in many ways. Make a reality check and see if you and your family in any way part of the oppressive system that is subtly operative against tribal people. 4. Recall the pledge you say every day at the start of the school. India is my country and all Indians are my brothers and sisters. Do the tribal people find a place in your understanding of my brothers and sisters? 5. Take initiative to organize and support the International Day of World's Indigenous Peoples to give more visibility to them and their cause. Be committed to give back their voice to them. Let us wish Happy International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples.